because all these discussions are important to be out there. I mean, what you've felt. So we'll basically start with Gunasilan. He was the first one who came in. So Gunasilan, you've seen a lot of sessions. I don't know how many. Finally, how many did you get to see?
I've seen almost all.
Not bad. Wow.
About 60, 67. So, yeah,
So
the
please tell
last
us.
one. Each of it.
So
Because you
please
see,
tell us.
normally we have to adjust so many timings and other things.
So
The best
please
part
tell
of
us,
the
yeah,
the
from the.
best part of the symposium, Vikram,
Yep.
was that sitting in my room here in front of my computer and talking about mediation. World, you have opened the doors so wide that across the continents we can hear people, visibly see them, their expressions and their inputs on the mediation process and the cultural impact of mediation. And it was so amazing. See, so many cross-border jurisdictions, people are sitting across and telling about what is happening in their country, what is their perception, and how there were a lot of slideshows which are so exemplary and on so many diverse topics, so many personal interactions, so many personal encounters they had with the process in their country and outside their country. It was an amazing experience for me.
But okay, let's just go for a general one, then we'll go to specifics. So Abe, what about you? What has been your just an overall thing, and then we'll go to specifics.
Look, I really thoroughly enjoyed the whole symposium. I've watched a lot, although not maybe live every night, but I have watched it on YouTube. I likened it, my analogy of the symposium and just watching the different countries, different perspective, all of that. Mediation is a house, and each person came to this symposium has put a brick on the wall, building the house. It's not just one thing. We all contributed in the knowledge and the experience of each other, shared it to really have the house of mediation. It's absolutely delightful to see how the perspective of each person about mediation. We think mediation is one thing. Absolutely not. It means something to every single one. And we enrich that sort of meaning of mediation, what mediation is all about.
Yep. I think that's the interesting part. That there's so much there. It's like I keep saying that this is like the elephant and the blind men, and that's exactly how I saw it coming out. Everyone has their perspective, and everyone's right. I mean, this is their thing. So Lisa, please, what is your overall thing?
No, I agree with that. And I think that we see the value actually of having a third person in the mix. But the value of the differences as well, because we all individually are different and each country is different. So there should be differences. So some of that came out, although we all, share a same root. So I like that. I think it was so much fun to be able to listen to each person's perspective. And even if when we had people in the same country, they also have a little different perspective depending on their region or their experience. And that really shows the diversity of the topic itself.
Absolutely. Now what we'll do is some specifics. Gunasilan, any specifics that you want to start with, and any particular session that you want to make a comment on? What you can do is you can actually, if you on the computer, you can open mediatorvikram.com. On the bottom, you'll have the schedule. So you can actually see that, and then maybe from there you can start with whoever, because it's all started with Ken Cloke. So let's start with that session. Just from Ken Close session, you of course I've definitely seen that. So what did you take away from that?
So,
No, yeah, that will come first. Let's do the first one. Ken Cloke, we know that was the first session. So what are your
yeah,
takeaways from that?
his experience is so huge and so what do you call it, lucid in his views. I mean, he is very clear about what mediation is about. His experience really matters. And I was really impressed by his thorough understanding of human psychology and the way it was, he had approached it. So I was really impressed by that. His experience is so immense.
And
Which is can't discount.
the
Yes.
only thing, one thing is, his thing is that for me at least, if I have to watch it again to be able to get everything from it, just watching
It's,
it once
if
is
you're going to go by person, Vikram, it's very difficult. Because
no,
you
this is
see,
okay. No, I will decide, Gunasiran. I am there. I am the one
Yeah.
who decides how to go. You know that. I would
you
decide how
are
to go,
there,
but
absolutely.
no one tells me what to do. You
Yeah.
know that. I mean, you've seen that part. So, Abe, what just starting from what?
With Ken, I actually, everything he has resonated with me because I think we both have come from the same era of mediation in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And when he talked about his experience with mediation in the 80s, I thought he was talking about my experience. And absolutely, because I think we have taken the American model of community mediation, and that's how we introduced it to Australia. And the challenges he faced at that time, and the concept of mediation being part of the legal or the IDR system is just so much my experience of it, and the challenges and everything. And look where we are today, having traveled 30 years or 40 years from then to now, and how much we evolved and how much mediation itself evolved in both America and Australia.
Yep.
Because we have much the similar experiences in introducing mediation.
Yeah. But Lisa, of course, you'll tell us about Ken Cloke's takeaway, but also at the same time, we were discussing this reference to modern mediation came up, like David Shiboni on his hybrid model. I think we also need to even discuss what that modern mediation is, or is there a particular modern mediation, and how is that also an elephant, how everyone's looking at it. So your takeaway from Ken, and then you can also tell me about that.
From Ken, I think Ken has been at the forefront of also the mediation movement in terms of moving it not from just a mediation model, but also into the social change and influencing social issues. So from that point, we see that Ken has himself been in the mix of moving mediation. If you think about the modern mediation, I would just say that there are different models. And so those different models, I've seen that Ken has been influenced by the new models as well. And that models that move more towards parties deciding their own as opposed to the mediator directing where they think the party should go. That movement is something that's more of the modern movement. And it seems to be that the older or longer people have been mediating, the more they gravitate towards that model. I have seen many mediators who've mediated for years who slowly gravitate towards that. And I think it's because we see that the success rate in keeping the mediation agreement is stronger when it's more party-centered. And so, based on that, I think that's what gravitates mediators, because mediators ultimately want to see that the parties are successful.
Yeah. Okay, let's just go to Abe on this first. Yes, Abe, your takeaway.
Now, sorry.
On the modern, this is modern
The
mediation.
modern one. Look, I think it hasn't really changed much from my experience, except there are the confusion in certain countries between, like we discussed yesterday with Andrew, the confusion between arbitration and mediation, or conciliation and mediation. Mediation is very distinct profession. And it is, I mean, I remember one day I was having this discussion with a counselor, and he said there's no emotion in mediation as much as in counseling. I said, you haven't been to mediation to know how much emotions attached to each issue. It's not about the $10 or whatever they are arguing about. There is a lot behind it, the emotions and feelings that is attached to the issue, and that's we need to deal with it first before we go into the core issue. So modern mediation is really more about the involvement of it. I mean, the core issues in mediation are the same, the model. I think it's how we approach it, how we did. We become more personalized approach. That what each mediator, not every mediator is the same. We all have a different approaches, but we still deal with the same essence of mediation, the model.
But because the thing is, are we going to also learn and pick up from what, let's call it traditional mediation? Are we going to pick up from there? Are we taking something from there?
Look, traditional mediation is based on respect for the elder. And the people actually come to reach an agreement, not because they meet their needs. It's more about respect for the elder, and they want to keep or to preserve the status of that elder. They don't want to let them down.
Yep.
And that's why the traditional mediation, although it has a place, but it does not meet the needs and does not resolve the issue ultimately. If that elder is no longer there, the issue is back in the forefront and back again. Mediation actually goes to the issue and building the relationship much stronger than having an elder doing it. I'm not against it 100%, but I don't believe that it is. We can compare the two. They are apples and oranges.
Because the thing is that, look, what David Shimoni's hybrid model, I mean, I found that interesting and definitely something that needs to be looked at. But if you have to have a hybrid model, then you also have to understand the limitation of each of them. If you say modern and traditional, so the limitation, like you were pointing out, in terms of the elder's role, so much of a role of the elder and what happens, and first of all, whether that thing is there or not, that respect in society in general. So how is that society going to react to these aspects that, okay, now you bring in respect, which obviously as societies have evolved, that aspect has definitely changed, which people have come out with. I think Athman from Morocco was quite emotional about it, I would think, that the way things, what he's seeing around him, the divorce rate and everything, because that whole change has happened. So
it's true. But what I can say here, there is some similarities in terms of the mediator need to be the integrity of the mediator, the honesty and the respect and the trust. They need to be there before any party can proceed with the mediator. Having said that, in the Philippines, I had students from the Philippines who told me about their system, and that's the traditional system. And they said, actually, although it appears to be resolved, nothing is being resolved.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. So, but Sultan hasn't, I haven't brought in Sultan. Sultan, I'm sorry, because I can't see you, I did not ask you. Please tell us what your takeaway from Ken's session was.
Okay.
I know you're not well, but please, if whatever you want to bring in. Yes or no?
I living me. Okay, it's
Okay.
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 Anything specific? Anything specific you want to talk about? Anything that you really found as important thing that you picked up from here? Anything that you want to tell us about?
I think it's wonderful symposium. Yeah, my opinion. It's a wonderful symposium. Other mediators met the symposium, and I watching a different symposium. Different country mediators experiment. It's very nice about for it's very nice for me, and it's very different because my country it's new mediation is new. It's new start. It's not. I learned.
Yeah, no problem. You just take it ahead. No, not a problem. You can just don't worry about the English part of it, please.
Yes. I think experiment change. It's important, and we are same. The problem, our country, our mediators' problem, other country mediators' problem.
Yeah. So that is one important thing that comes out, that people are facing the same problem everywhere. That is a common thing which we see. So Gunasilan, any specific session you want to tell us about that is something which you felt was
Because you were speaking about culture of mediation, I was very much impressed by David from when he talked about, you see, parallel systems. So one traditional mediator and one who's in the modern mediation as a concept, a trained mediator. The process who's been trained in that. So combining together, both together mediating would be the most preferable method of easily arriving at a solution and reaching out to the communities. Because one from the community who's experienced and who resolves the disputes, and you understanding through him the local communities as well as the system that works culturally there, and putting your inputs into the process. I think that's the best hybrid solution you was highlighting.
But only
I really appreciate it.
The thing is, I also have to run a house. I know I play a lot of golf, but the house also have to run. So where do I fit in? Because I'm not trained. What do I do? Am I supposed to resign from the profession and just only play golf? Because whenever you say trained, I have a problem with that.
Yeah,
we are not dogs that we need to be trained. It's a natural ability which comes in. You have it, according to me, you have it or you don't have it. Further, to take it forward, like I said, this lecture series I'm starting from 6th. Lisa, you don't know about this. 6th October, starting lecture series. It's basically a Wednesdays, because my course is closed on Wednesday. So it starts with Ken Cloke, 9:30 p.m. India time. So I said, you have this issue now, training. What about training? Why you keep talking about training? So I'm not calling it training. I'm saying lecture series. So we'll put it all out and let people relate to it. I mean, this is where even Ken talks about how he went for that training and he said, this is what I want to do. So let's expose them to that. I have no problem. But
yes.
please let me do work also. I'm not going to get trained the way people want to get trained, 40 hours this and that. I'm not going to be doing that.
I'm not talking about that, Vikram.
Yeah.
see, for the process to be an acceptable process in today's society, we are, you are putting forward a process which is deep rooted within the culture. That we accept, there is no second opinion on that. But in today's society, when people go about start doing this, then the next question is credibility comes into picture. It is not only individual disputes you're talking about, you're talking about disputes on a larger spectrum. Therefore, acceptability is an important factor. Now, what is the criteria? See, you can say everybody can do mediation. There are people who are specializing who need not have been, did not undergo the training schedule for them to be qualified as mediators. I would rather say people who claim to be qualified, trained mediators are not actually doing the real job of mediation. They just have it for the namesake. And people who really do mediation may not be, as we perceive, or trained in the sense like 40 hours training program or 160 hours training program, 120 hours for accreditation and all that. But today's system for mediation to take off, even on a lower community level basis, there must be some credibility attached to it. And that credibility comes when your status as a mediator is an accredited status. Accredited by whom? No. There comes again the big issue. Whether your accreditation and recognition comes from the society where you're going to mediate upon or by somebody else. That is where I was in conflict with the existing system, that by law, if you are seeking to regulate it, I'm totally opposed to it. But by practice, and if you're able to have that quality in you as a person who can mediate and resolve disputes, recognize, for that recognition, you would have to have a face.
I tell you, that is the limitation in what you are saying is because, look, I can understand that you are part of a process in the courts and you have a practice in the courts and you are living in Chennai, so you have a view on Chennai. Mediation has to happen in every corner of this world, in villages, everywhere. And we must give that endorsement to that settlement agreement that happens there also. Now, for 7-8 billion people, if I am going to start training today, I would think about 1,000 years it will take for us to train those mediators, because who is going to train them? Are you saying that we are living in that kind of world that we just have to give them a certificate? If that is the point, India, I will talk about other places, a similar issue. Every corner of this country, there will be people who saying certification, we give you 40-hour training, you will become a mediator. If you are going that direction, that will be even worse. What I'm saying is that in society, there are people who are trusted. Let's bring those people into the fold of a profession. They are already trusted. They have already got what they had to do because the user has endorsed them. There's no third party who decides that I am the one who is the right person to certify you. That person should be brought in, and everyone else is getting. We'll come back to you. Let's get Abe's view also. Then we'll get Lisa's view, because my view. I've been saying it so many times. I don't want to put my view so many times. But Abe, please, what is your view on this?
Okay, I 100% agree with my friend and colleague Consulan. I really agree that, look, we've been through a period of time in Australia where there was no standards, no accreditation, anybody can call themselves mediators. And we had seen people who are bringing disrepute to the profession. People can call themselves mediators, and really they are actually doing more damage to the profession than good. And what we did, we started this accreditation standards, and it is one body. And anybody who is trying to want to be training mediators and issue certificates, they have to be an accredited body. It's not just I can go and teach mediation and say you are trained now and you are a mediator. I need to be myself an accredited first before I can offer my training course. I'll just give you a story about India. I lived with an Indian guy a few years ago, We share the house. And he is innovator. He's a metal turner and he design things. He designed a kitchen gadget. And he said, I'm going back to India and have it manufactured there and sell it. I said, that will take time. He said, no, I need to do it. Once it's manufactured and in the market, I need to make a profit in the first 3 to 7 days, because after 7 days, everybody going to do it because there's no copyright in India. Anybody can copy it and manufacture it without going to the original innovator or designer. And this is something that is really robbing at the people who are in the profession and does not give them incentive to really go and educate themselves and be better at the profession. Similar to doctors or lawyers and any other profession, we need to look at mediation as a profession rather than just a job that I was born with.
Yeah, no, I understand. Abe, I tell you what the problem is. What you're talking about, the structure and everything, very nicely in place. UK, very nicely. What is the end result? If there is a person today in that world also where everything is done, I spoke to Robert Angel. He had come on that in conversation with a beautiful mind. He said if someone can't practice only as a mediator in Australia. I mean, if there is something so good about the training and accreditation, suddenly you've created this very nice, wonderful person who's going to change people's lives. This should have been the only profession people should have been practicing. Why are they still going through the courts and why those lawyers are still there? Is because fundamentally that user experience is not there. Structure is there. Training programs are there. People are making loads of money on that. But at the end of the day, what is the ground reality? If people are not getting the user experience, that is the reason that people are only not practicing as mediators. If it's such a wonderful thing, or mediation is not such a wonderful thing, we keep going on saying it. Maybe it's not. People are not appreciating it. Like Chuck was talking about Germany and Israel's situation. In Germany, mediation has not taken off because the court system is so efficient. So that means maybe we are just going on pushing something because there is a backlog and people need an option. So mediation is going. Otherwise, maybe mediation is not required by people. They just want courts. That whole colonial thing is in their head. So maybe we are also not looking at the user. What is the user saying? Is the user saying, yes, I want to go for mediation first? Not happening in the US. If in UK, Andrew Miller talks about 18,000 people trained and certified, 500 have work. Then what is the use of all that structure? Finally, those people have to get work. Abe, if they don't get work, how does it move forward? Yeah, please.
They do. There is work there. In Australia, there is work. A colleague of mine, I'm helping her to set up her business as a mediator. She received 4 jobs in one day. They are work.
Because you set her up.
No, I don't take a credit for that. But what I'm saying is, there is work. But I think the court system is still needed. We're not replacing the court system. There are matters need to go through the court and cannot be resolved in mediation. The two systems are parallel. They're not in collision, either this or that. There is room for mediation and there is room for court, as much as there's room for arbitration and conciliation. There's room for each aspect of IDR as well as the legal system. But if we didn't have mediation, we would, instead of waiting 2 years in court, we will be waiting 8 years.
See, Vikram,
go later. First, Lisa has to come in because Lisa is also there. We have to.
So, I mean, in the US, you can be a mediator without training. If you call yourself a living, the law says if you hold yourself out to be a mediator, you're a mediator. So if I say I'm a mediator, I'm a mediator. That's it. However, that being said, there are certain standards that are expected of someone who holds himself out to be a mediator. And so those standards are what people look at. We know in the US that we have people who are clergy who are also mediating within the community. People go to their minister or their pastor, and the pastor acts in that way in terms of disputes. Mostly, though, people are going towards people who are educated as mediators, not using the word trained for Vikram's sake, but it is about an education process, and it's about what you believe about the parties and looking at what is your actual belief about how a dispute should be resolved and how you interact with the parties. And if you're aware of that, you will have interactions that are appropriate. Does that make sense?
No, naturally, Lisa, no, I get what you're saying. What I'm saying is that at the end of the day, we have to see the end result. Structure, everything there on one end, we have to see the end result. So when I look at the US statistics and I do my research, it shows me on one end, 100 million cases in courts, community mediation centers, 400,000 matters in community mediation centers. I don't understand this gap, because if it is such a wonderful thing and people are getting all the benefit and they are actually using the process, if you think they are in 40-45 years, then where because it is, look, every profession develops a word of mouth. I don't see any profession like any of these professions developing by me putting an ad in the paper that come to me, I do mediation. It's not going to happen. Although lawyers in any case in India are not allowed to put this anything out that way. But the fact is that there is a word of mouth thing which should have developed in the 40-45 years. So I'm just trying to understand, and I've been asking everyone, I'm not really getting there as to what really happened there.
I think that there still is a disconnect between, because there is a strong culture of going to court. The culture of going to court is so strong that there is a lag between people actually valuing what happens in mediation, because the first place they think of going is the court. And there is still a lag between in our own communities, knowing that this mediation is available. I can go around in my own community and say, do you know that there's a mediation center? And they'll say, no, I didn't know that. And then I can say, well, would you go there? They'll say, no. They'd go to court rather than, we have people choose to go to court rather than go to mediation, even though mediation would have resulted in a better outcome for them.
So how do we go into that? Because we must change that aspect, because I've been talking about this, that the colonial system has affected the psyche. And to be able to get out of that psyche will require a certain different activity than what is happening. To tell person, like you said, to tell the person this exists and everything, damn good, we'll do that, awareness and everything. But at the end of the day, the user has a mindset where they say, no, I want to go for litigation. So how do we change that? Is there something that you can think of there we can do?
I think it really is difficult. I mean, we've been trying for years and years and years to make that disconnect. I think one of the limitations is that as a mediator, you don't have enough time to be out in the community and inform the community. So somehow we need somebody like you who's out in the community informing the community. That's what we don't have, because otherwise that takes up almost all your time trying to inform people, trying to get them to know. I like what you're doing, because you're getting to know mediators on that individual level. People are being able to see, okay, mediators are just people. Maybe that's not so bad. Otherwise you think of mediation as some formal process. People have the misconception that it's a formal process. They don't understand that a mediation is actually less formal than the court, that they have more of an opportunity to say their piece, to have their emotions also be on the table as one of the items to be resolved. So that disconnect is there, but also seeing mediators as people, because if you see them as people, it's like, oh, okay, I can talk to her. She's okay. Or I can talk to Abe over there, because, he looks like somebody I could talk to. These things are important too. It's a matter of, how much time do you have in your day to do it?
But I think, Lisa, what you've done in whatever that might have been 2 minutes and all. Only I don't edit my videos, but I'm telling you, this clip is so important because in once you actually put down exactly what I'm trying to do. Put mediators out there. Let people know they're wonderful people. They are special people, and it's all about people to people. It's not, like you said, this formal thing that is that box that people think, and maybe that whole connection with the court system and mediation. I just have this problem only because of this. It is not that. It is a totally different thing, that whole connection. So I think that connection, I think, to be made, I think, is very important. And that if you are saying this, I know that maybe I am doing something right. But you people also have to take it further up. We want a Lisa Singh channel, YouTube channel. You have to be talking to those people from wherever, if they're in the world or the US, everywhere. Please start those, every one of you. Please do that. I have kept saying what I am doing. I'm showing you that it is possible for one individual to put together a symposium with already 93 speakers. Okay, 94 will happen today. And then there's some recordings which have to happen because they had some personal difficulties. They could not come in, and I don't want to leave anyone out. So we'll have so many people. If I can put it out, why can't everyone else? If these 100 can put out 100, let's just look at that. At least those 10,000 people are out there talking about something which is relevant to people. So I think please take it forward. Please, I keep saying that. I mean, I am just doing it because look, my focus, this part is happening. My focus is how to reach the user now, and not it is on scale. I don't know whether people saw that I had two people from India who have they're doing wonderful work. One is, of course, on the larger policy, and the other girl, they started a platform, and on that platform, of course, once this is on one end, they've connected with courts. There is a particular provision under which they've done these what we call them lok adalat, if that word makes sense, people's court kind of thing. There's a provision in law, so that whatever happens in that also is as good as a court decree. So now today, part that and the other private work that they're doing, they've hit a 1 million mark. And I think it's only been about a year or two, maybe a year or two, that they've done it. So 1 million mark online platform, but she's talking about how they went about it. They started on the street, going out to everyone, talking to them, telling them about it. So you must watch that. And the way they have gone about it, it took time to get that from her, because I kept saying, you take it for granted what you did. Everyone is not doing this. So just a whole setup that is available to us step by step, someone has done it. And I kept telling her, look, don't think of it India, you can do this everywhere. That pool of mediators, and in our case also conciliators, that you have, that those can be from anywhere online. If this is going to happen online, so look at that aspect. I think that there are people who are actually on the right track there. I just feel that it is just opening it out, and they're doing wonderful work. And Giovanni has just come in. I'm so Giovanni, you were not here. We started off with first that overall, what has been your sense of the symposium? A bit on that, if you want to tell us. You can unmute yourself. This is a rare opportunity. Giovanni is thinking, I'll get a message to unmute. What happened to you? No, please. Please. You have to. Come on.
Hello, everybody. I
Hi,
arrived just
Giovanni.
now. I'm sorry. So I didn't listen what you said. Hi, Gunasilan.
Hi.
And just now I hear, and later on I can intervene. But first of all,
What we are saying, what I'm asking you to first thing is that you've been part of so many sessions, you've actually sat in them. What is give an overall picture as to the symposium? What your key takeaways were?
Unbelievable. There's the whole picture. Because having so many people, just so many different people from so many different countries, it's really the first time. I have connection abroad. I was abroad in the bed just listening, 80 or 90, 70 people from 70 countries. Unbelievable. Anyway, all the world in the same village. We have almost the same problems. First of all, ancient way, ancient culture, ancient society is disappeared or is disappearing. The way they solve the problems in ancient situation with the elders of the village, with the elders of the group, is moving completely. As I told this morning, also in China, as we heard yesterday, the new economic and social situation is moving the solution of the competition to courts. And I think that also there they have backlog in courts. The court backlogs is asking just to use mediation as much as possible. This is the main reason, because now mediation is gaining momentum. The problem, what do we think of mediation? What we think that mediation is, how we manage the proceeding, how we manage the relationships. And here there are the huge differences among all of us. And this depends from our own cultures, our own traditions, and the way of training that we received. If possible, it should be necessary just to have a minimum common training just on the basic, because I don't think that the Harvard style interest-based is the only way to manage mediation. I think there are also other ways, and these are particularly used in Asia. And just to know what's happening there, just to know how do you manage the mediation proceedings. That's all. There is a lot of things to do.
Perfect. So, Gunasena, you were saying something. I cut you off
Yes.
that time.
I will go to the root of it. Society as such, there are certain systems which can be regulated by people themselves. But the society as a whole has to have its unity and identity preserved. And for preservation of that, a superior hand is required to maintain that law and order, the cohesion of that community as a whole. Therefore, the existence of general laws to regulate the conduct of affairs in the society. I will generalize it like this. There are penal laws for offenses. There are commercial laws for relating to trade and other things. There are personal laws relating to your systems in which the society functions. Now, that system has also provided for a method of resolving the disputes in all sectors possible. And that was what was done by courts. But all are not going to the courts. You see, that society which it evolves has also evolved a method by which they try to resolve the problems between themselves before asking a third-party intervention to resolve their problems. The third-party intervention, we call it as a state authority. Now, what happened is the mechanism that was put in place to govern the society ultimately come to a standstill whereby they say, look, we can't handle this. Why don't you people yourselves do it? See, that is where the alternate mechanism comes. But then there again, the problem is, you see, you have to take into very many factors into consideration. The fundamentals of the formation of society, caste systems, community systems, linguistic systems. There are so many systems are prevalent there. Now, as you say, if you say there are people in that communities who are better equipped to deal with these kind of problems, which are doing, you identify them and spread the message. Unfortunately, these polarization of factors have a very strong interplay in the society as such. So therefore, to bring about a cohesion, you have to have this, credible persons to doing this work of mediation. That is where I'm saying people are not willing to go for this mediation as a first stage because they are afraid that they will be governed by the polarizing factors.
Okay.
So you have to, as I have been right from beginning trying to say, we have to take the message to the people that there is a system available which overlooks above all this, and people are available there.
Okay.
You can do it.
Now, what you would have to go and say, what you do, just think about whatever you said. Now look at it from the perspective of that one village that you are connected with. In Tamil Nadu, you're connected to some village for sure, some route somewhere, anyone. So now
Yes,
just
I have.
everything that you said, now let's take it to that village, because obviously whatever we're talking about goes to scale if we can do it in that village. So now from that village situation, tell us how this whole thing will work. What is the way to go about it after listening to various kinds of things? James doing what he does in Kenya, otherwise what we call as modern mediation that people are talking about, that model, Harvard model is that. Let's say now everything is we've got in our head. Now we are going to this village and now we have to see
Yes.
whether what
Yes.
is happening and how it's going to work. So just an idea there.
I have shared a video with you, Vikram, about what is happening in the hill trades in one Tiruvannamalai district in Tamil Nadu. Tiruvannamalai district is a district. It's a composite of so many. The 123 villages which are settlements in hill stations. They're villages actually. 123 settlements. Now they all have their own, they call as natamais. That is persons who they look upon as the elders who govern them. See, even today it exists. These 123 people choose between themselves 9 elders of the community. They elect all the villages joined together. They have certain religious functions. They have some religious rites, and then they choose the leader. That leadership passes from generation to generation. We are about 16th or 17th generation. The leader died. There are about 5-6 legal heirs to him. Now the entire 123 village elders joined together. They had a meeting. They have to choose their next leader for their entire 123 villages. Remember, these 123 villages also fall into the governmental system, revenue system. They come under the district. There is a revenue administration there. But how they go about doing it is, they have the religious right of getting the word from the temple as to this is the right person. This is the right person to do so. It so happened that an young boy who was aged about 13 or 14 years, he was pointed out, according to them, by their goddess, that he is the rightful person to inherit the leadership. Believe it or not, all these 123 villages agreed upon that, and they chose him as their village elder, as their hamlet elder. This is in 123 hilly tribes here in Tamil Nadu itself. 123 villages.
What I request you, because this is not no. I'm trying to say this is. I will love the concept of what you're saying, but please just a little shorter as to the point of that. Because the presentation, this is like a presentation part. We won't do it here. We'll keep a presentation separately, just on the dispute resolution part and how that functions and how we will take it to the village. Just in short, because obviously
the village elders decide it, and the people are binding about it. They any dispute. They have not gone to the court. In 123 villages, not even a single person has gone to the court today, till date. And many of them are working in very many factories outside, villages outside. Many of them are working as conductors, drivers in very, very many stations. All are exposed to the present day modern society, but not single one of them in their village communities have never gone to the court because they are bound by the decision of the elders. They abide by it.
So how does the structure work? Please just tell us how that structure works.
Yes, if in a village, if there is a dispute, they go to the headman. Then the headman has a body of consultants whom he calls to them. and they all sit together. They hear the parties. Then they say, look, this is how they try to adjust both of them. I've seen about 7 or 8 settlements taking place like this, disputes. And they say this is the best method of doing it. Then they leave the choice to the parties. Then they themselves say, okay, this is how the villagers feel. Fine, it is fine with me. They abide by it. So it is a cooperative method by which the villagers also agree upon, the elders also agree upon, and the problem is resolved. Even in respect of finding alliances, they resolve these issues.
Okay, so working very well. Now what you have to do is exactly what I was discussing with you. Now you want to bring in training into this and accreditation and certification. So how will you bring that into this structure?
You cannot do that. I'll tell you how.
I've been saying,
I'll tell you how.
You are agreeing with me. You are
No,
agreeing.
I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how. You see, that is where they are allergic to. See, if you go talk to them about any system or a structured system, they're allergic to. But I have seen that many of those, the council of people who are gathering and advising the the head to come to a decision, many are proactive. They say, yes, that means, look, this is what we have been doing. And if you're going, see, this is what you're doing, what you're telling is nothing but what you're doing. So why not we have it? That is, why not we have it so that our younger generation can take it up? That is how they were looking at it.
No, but what I want to ask you is that the system is working and they love the system. Everything is going perfect. So why do you want to why do you want to rock the boat by saying that no, only the person who is accredited and certified will be the one who will do it, and your system doesn't work. Although they're happy with the system, we say no, your system doesn't work for you.
No. See, what they would like is they would like the legitimization of their system.
It is legitimate. I don't know if you know, there is a provision called conciliation that we have in our country. Whatever they are doing, whoever helps them reach a certain settlement, that settlement agreement, all they have to say is this is under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, and the settlement agreement. I've been repeating this, Gunasilan, because it's an Indian perspective, it'll apply only to us, that in a village in India, they can get a court decree. There is no better law in the world that you can get it, and anyone can be a conciliator under that. So I'm saying that legitimizing this is so easy. I'm saying so easy.
No, they don't want to get into the stream. That is what you should understand. That is the basic village instinct. You see.
No, they're not getting into the system. I'm saying if they want that whatever they're doing to be legitimate.
See, that's exactly what I'm now trying to tell you, Vikram. What I'm trying to tell you is they understand what we are trying to tell them. But the integration of it is going to take time.
But what integration do you want? I'm asking that. I don't even understand what integration you need. They're already integrated.
Yes.
What is the integration you want to do with them? What do you want to do?
No, see, I'll tell you how. If today in a village, if 5 people form a house, in a family, and if they sit together and they can wonderfully live together. But another 5 family, the interaction between them, fine, there is no issue. But then, in the largest perspective, when it comes to, you see, we have a system of laws and regulations. That is the regular societal regulations. Even they go and get a ration card. They are their villages. They go get their revenue administration. They get their recognized birth and death. They get recognized. All those systems are there. They abide by it.
No, I don't know. But
when it comes to dispute resolution, they go by their own system.
But what is wrong with that? I'm not being able to understand.
I'm not saying anything wrong at all. Only thing is that
you are saying exactly what I'm saying, but you are now.
We can get them out and integrate with our existing, as it exists, the system of as it exists. What is wrong in doing that?
But what is the problem? I don't know. It is already there. They have the sanctity to what they are doing. If they that word in Hindi. Okay, the first in English we have conciliation. In Hindi it is called sulh. I don't know whether it's translated into Tamil. That act has been translated, but there is no problem in telling them that there is no. If you doing exactly what you're doing.
Exactly. You tell them you do what you are doing a wonderful job.
So no, but I'm saying that that is what James is doing. He's going out and telling them to, okay, in their case, that traditional system directly has endorsement because of that judgment he was talking about. The court has given the judgment that the traditional method, whatever the end result out of that is something that is endorsed by the Constitution. So no law can take it away from them. So that
even in our mediation, any settlement the parties agree. If the parties agree to it, nobody can take it off.
No, I'm going a little beyond that. I'm saying in our Constitution, is there a protection of traditional methods of communities? Is there?
No.
There is. Have a look at it. Have a look at the Constitution. Our Constitution also mentions this. So I'm just saying that they have been able to pick up from that Constitution that there is an endorsement of traditional systems. We have to carefully look at, countries have to carefully look at that also, that if there is direct endorsement, that was a murder. A person had committed murder. I'll just tell you, maybe you might have missed that. Other people might have missed it. A murder took place. And within that village, there is that whole restorative justice practice that they have. They decided, okay, I mean, the parties within themselves, okay, this person will give 15 camels to the other side, and the whole thing is finished. The matter went into court because it is a murder. Police took it to court. No witnesses came. No one came to follow up the case. The judge sent someone to the village to find out what has been decided in the community. They came back. The judge passed an order based on what they had done. It was criticized, said that the law says, the penal code or whatever says that this is murder, it has to be tried at that. Says no, the Constitution is beyond that, and the Constitution endorses it. So why not look at those aspects if they're already there in constitutions? Have a look at it. In our Constitution, have a look at it. But we'll come back to. We'll come back. We will be arguing.
Since you have spoken about murder and the court recognition, I will tell you about this.
Yeah.
There is a huge controversy in Tamil Nadu when a rape case, in a case of rape, the penal code is, it is an offense punishable. But then what happens is, a high court judge came out and said, look, the person who raped and the person who got raped are both willing to get married and settle down in their life. Let them be so. Why should I penalize them? Why can't this system work? Everybody, when I went to the Supreme Court and Supreme Court said no. Yeah, how can you work out of a penal system?
No, this is a little different. This is different, that there is a traditional method of going about it. We're talking about that. If a judge decides that this is a better way for them to do it, is it endorsed by law?
That's a clash.
That is a separate thing. We'll talk about. That's a totally.
That's a clash.
Yeah, that's a discussion by itself.
It's a clash that always takes place at various levels, in various forms.
Let's just bring in everyone else into the discussion, because otherwise we'll be. Abe has been wanting to say something. Oh, Giovanni, you wanted to say something. You had raised your finger. You were raising a finger to me. What were you doing?
I just wanted to ask if you need an international mediation. That's all.
You were enjoying yourself, huh?
That's all.
Look, the discussions, that sometimes can go there, but I still feel that there are things which need to be discussed. And most of the time you'll find that I will be saying things people might not agree with. So it is normal. It is a normal practice. But Lisa was wanting to say something. I cut her off in a way. Yes, Lisa.
No, you didn't cut me off. No, it was just, to me, one of the things that I think we can point out is that in most traditional systems, the mediator is someone elder in the community, respected in the community. So there is that sense. I mean, what modern systems have done in terms of training is to provide those skills that somebody older gets with age and experience. And so it's not to say, it's to look at what is our expectation of the qualities a mediator should have. And I think that's what's important. We generally want qualities of a mediator to be someone who is going to be able to be neutral, is going to be able to listen, is going to be able to help people in that way. And that's why in a traditional system, it's somebody elder in the community, because the elder you are, the more you're able to listen in more full way. And in a modern system, it's how can we teach people those skills?
But I think, Lisa, but I was just this aspect, because this is your area of practice also, there's restorative justice. So what this person was about, James spoke about in their community, and this murder and all that. But what are your views on that?
I mean, I think that restorative practices are, of course, I support them, I use them. I use those restorative practices in many different ways. I do the family group counseling, which Abe knows about. I've done circles, which is Native American. I've practiced those. I love those models. I think that different models help to solve different issues, and looking at where the community is, looking at what the issues are. I think there's some limitations in traditional models, and some of the limitations can be, what are your attitudes? If we are taking old attitudes towards people that, for instance, okay, I'll go there, women, right? You know, if women are supposed to take a subservient role and a traditional system keeps them in that role, then they're not moving forward in modern thinking. That's a restriction. So, I mean, if you look at the movie Ankur in India, where the village were solving the problem about a woman who wanted to get pregnant but couldn't get pregnant with her husband, and the village ruling was she should get pregnant by his brothers. You know, so what happens if that's not the way of thinking that the modern society wants you to go in? That becomes a limitation.
That's exactly what we have to discuss. But before that, Louis, come in. Louis, I think that, no, you have to come in. First of all, I have to kind of, let's not say firing, but I keep sending out so many emails. No one reads my emails. Zoom link. Imagine Louis is asking for the Zoom link now. After all this time, after 2 months, he's asking for the Zoom link. Why is this happening? I want to understand. This is the most important thing I have to understand from the whole thing. Why did you not find the Zoom link?
No, I don't know, my friend. I don't know. Maybe I have too many emails.
Oh my God, I have to do something there. Or maybe it goes into spam mail. My mail, because of the fact that I mark so many people on the mail, maybe it goes into spam. So please remove me from there, put me back into the inbox. Or if you just want me, if you think I'm spam, then it's a different thing.
Okay, my friend.
No, but Louis, what happened was, let me just give you a background. It started with everyone talking about an overall picture as to what their takeaway from the symposium was. So if you want to give us that overall thing, then we'll go into specifics. And then we'll go to what Lisa was saying. We'll come to that. Just an overall thing.
I'm overall about what? I'm sorry.
On the symposium, if you did manage to watch some sessions or whatever.
Well, yeah, as you framed it last message, I think our friend from Mexico was very mindful at saying that this is Woodstock of mediation. To me, this has been an amazing opportunity to spread the word about what can be done in order to deal with conflict in a more constructive ways. So this has been amazing. It's funny that I don't think it was framed as a conference, but I may say that if we were in the Guinness records, this would be the most world spread conference. So this was great.
Okay, yeah. So and from the general, I mean, of course, I'm sure that you can't watch all of them. You watch them as you go along. So definitely each specific we won't be able to get into. But if there is any specific that you have watched and said that there was something that you took away from any specific, you can tell us that if there is something there. Okay,
I will
later,
think
later.
Yeah.
So basically, Lisa, what we were, I mean, on the fact that if there is a certain practice, that endorsement, there will be conflicts, moral conflicts, which will come up. So to balance that out, but traditional communities doing it in a certain way. So how do we match the two?
I mean, I think we have to look at what are the needs in terms of systemic change, and what is the system maintaining, and what does the system need to change, and then work within that system. I like the idea of a blend. I also, I think that idea of a blend was really good. I think that no one method for any conflict is, it's not like mediation is the perfect model. Like you said, a traditional model could be a better fit. It can be a circle or any other model. So taking some traditional method and then working it with any place in the world and blending it to see what's going to work. I think we have to look at the conflict itself and what is the conflict itself, and what would work better to have a better resolution of that conflict. And I think we as mediators have to be willing to explore different ways of doing things. We as mediators we have to look not at, oh, this is what I do and this is the way it should be, but we have to look broader at what are all those different ways of doing things and what would work better with the people I'm working with. Louis works with traditional people, and I think he's done a really good job of flexing that. So, things like that. How can we flex to meet the needs of the people we're working with? It's not about us, it's about them.
Well, that's why I'm very impressed by what Louis is doing. I keep telling people that we need to duplicate that, the scale that they're doing it at. And I mean, it's amazing. We haven't seen that happen. No one else has come out with that. So it's so unique that you're doing, Louis. You don't, maybe again the same thing, you don't realize what you're doing, but you have to take it out to the world. How you're going to do that is what we have to find out. We have to do some special sessions only on that. Look, finally, you want me to do organize things, I'm always there to organize things, but this conversation has to happen, and I've been wanting to do that. So we'll have a special something on that. Yep. So now Isaac has come in. Isaac, please, you want to tell us your one general thing about the symposium and then any specifics? You can unmute yourself. This is one rare occasion, like I told you today. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. I didn't know this time around we can unmute yourself anytime. Wow.
And one of the maybe the last times also. It'll be taken away from you very soon.
Okay, thank you. Let me say hello to everyone, and my senior colleagues. They have really done well in promoting mediation for us to also learn from it and also do more, as you people have also paved the way. And this is to say that it has been a wonderful journey for 18 solid days to have cross-cultural discussions on mediation and how people are using it to enhance and also improve social cohesion in society, which is really good. And I have learned a lot from Poland, from Greece, from USA and India, getting to understand your laws and other things, and also to know how people are using ODL to also in place of mediation, sort of physical meetings. If Corona will not allow for that, then there is a new way of doing it, which is ODL. So which is also another platform that some of us that are now developing the system can also learn from. So it has opened a major gate for all of us to learn from. And also, let me take this opportunity to congratulate you, Vikram, for this wonderful show and organizing such great events. To have about 80 plus speakers on board to speak about mediation. This is a great milestone, and you must be commended for that.
This session I'd only done for that, only praises. I didn't know there won't be so many people. Otherwise, everyone would have got 5 minutes to just say that. But please don't discount the symposium. We've already done 93 speakers, 93 done.
Yes.
And some
Sure.
people, because they were not able to make it, they're also going to record it. But any
Wow.
specifics that, because like those interesting thing, like you said about that platform, that part of it definitely you can implement in Ghana also. So I think you
Yeah.
should be interacting with them, getting in touch with them, how they went about it. But although she's explained quite well, but you can get in touch with Akshita. I'm sure they're busy people, but do that. But any specifics that you want to tell us? Anything
Yes, yes,
specific?
and also one thing that specifically I learned is that, you know, the practice is more like similar to all that is happening everywhere. It's not like it's different from what is happening in Ghana and what is happening in India or USA. So the similarity of the practice and also the international best practices, which is very key in every field of choice, and also to see mediation as a profession, a separate profession on its own, as the lawyers will say. So the mediation is not analogous to the law practice. So it doesn't mean that once you're a lawyer, you can practice mediation and all that. So getting people to understand that dispute solution has also been part of our system. If it was not called mediation, then there was something there. There were some characteristics of our dispute solution, which is also part of the mediation processes, which we left behind. And now we are getting to know them and revisiting the past, what we have left so long, so that we can improve upon it and also use it for the benefit of society. So that is what, in general, I took from this.
You brought up a very important point about developing it as a profession. So whatever, I mean, I've been saying it too many times. I won't say it now. How do you people one by one? You'll have to tell me how you think that we can develop it in a manner ultimately that a person can practice only as a mediator. So what are we going to do? Let Abe start, because Abe has a different view than me on the whole structure. Please, Abe.
Look, I just want to go back to the traditional mediation, or whatever we want to call it. I think we need to be mindful. Traditional mediation and modern mediation, they both have a place in the system. My mentor of 15 years, Stella Cornelis, she is a pioneer in mediation in Australia. Before she died, the day before she died, she left me with one message. She said to me, Abe, you don't say this or that. You can have this and that. And that's a very important message. We need to be mindful that if we want to apply modern mediation in a village, it won't work. The same thing if we want to apply traditional mediation in an urban center, like in New Delhi or New York or somewhere else, it won't work either. Like Andrew said yesterday, he lives in a apartment block, where he doesn't know the name or the people he live across the hall from him. And this is something we need to be mindful. In the village, there's a community cohesion, and they are really respect the elder, and they will abide by it. Actually, it's not a mediation, it's an informal court without lawyers. That's what it is. Because the final say or the suggestion coming from the elder is going to be considered by the parties and accepted or what, and most likely accepted. That's why there are no matters going to court in those villages, because they are applying a system that works for them, and we need to respect that.
But Abe, I don't know where you, of course, would not have watched the things. Today in the morning, I had recorded something with Kathy from Canada. And in that discussion, I was asking her, because she lives in a small place. I think the population must be 6,000-7,000. So I was asking her that, okay, now in that community, in terms of dispute resolution and things like that, what is the structure? There are a lot of issues in that small communities also. Now, yeah.
It's true, but we need to be mindful. Not every small community Apartment block is a small community, but is there a community? Is the sense of community?
Yeah,
Is it
exactly.
there?
Exactly. That's what I was talking to her about. I was saying that sense of ownership has gone. The
Yep.
sense of ownership towards the community has gone. And that, look, dispute resolution is only one part of what happens in a community. So I think maybe we are going wrong and talking about mediation or a certain form of dispute resolution. I think we have to start working as mediators. I'm not even saying in general, as to how in communities we can bring a certain sense of ownership. We get them together first, then the dispute resolution aspect can be brought in. So maybe that role that Ken wants, that role of mediators, I always kept saying that first let the mediators get work, let them do that, and then give them the role. I'm saying maybe that has to go side by side, and Lisa has something to say on that. Yes, Lisa. You can't take that long to unmute. This is precious time.
So a couple of things, I mean, that I have observed and has been observed in terms of mediation. One is that within the community, a dispute, there are lots of little disputes that go on in the community, but they're not important until they start to hamper or impede the way that other people get along. And so we have that in families, we have all kinds of little disputes, but it's not important until the family starts to malfunction or the community starts to malfunction. So we have to look at that in terms of disputes, because we'll have all of those conflicts going on all of the time. It's natural, it's normal, and most of the time we resolve it. It's only important when it starts to impede how we get along. And then in terms of communities, it's that push and pull between where's the individual, especially in the West, where does the individual start and where does the community start, and how do you combine both the individual needs and the community needs and interweave these. So it's kind of like that interweaving. And I think another important thing is that conflict itself, it becomes important that when you have, I have always said that to be in conflict is a privilege. If we look at systems where you have no choice, people will say, there's no conflict, I was just told what to do. So the fact that we have conflict is a privilege that we have going forward, and that conflict can lead to greater growth and actually greater cohesion in the end once we get through it. So we look at conflict as an opportunity and not just as something going on.
Interestingly, Lisa, maybe it's the new house or whatever it is, the way you're talking and everything so nice. It's like otherwise the kind of discussions we get into. This is so nice. Now it's that Lisa. I won't talk about the age. That Lisa is the one who's saying. I like that. That the words of wisdom, that is the way they're flowing. I really love that. But let me also tell you about this modern. We were talking about modern mediation and traditional mediation. Interesting thing Kathy is doing. She's bringing in art into mediation and how even poetry into mediation.
Actually, that's was what I started, and Kathy and I work on that. I love that art in mediation. I think it should be part of it. We did that whole series.
So why can't we say that is modern mediation? If that's coming up now, that becomes really modern. So how those issues are when do you say what is modern? Modern is there a point that okay, this came last, so that is modern? So then that is last if someone is talking about it. So I think that modern part of it we were talking about, Louis, if you have something on that this concept of modern mediation which is going around and a lot of discussion happens on that. Is there something that you would want to tell us as to what your concept of modern mediation, if there is anything such thing?
Very interesting. I would say that modern mediation, it goes, I don't know if backwards or to the beginnings. Modern mediation is trying to tap into old or ancestral ways of doing things. So it's trying to connect the wave of conflict resolution, ADR, and connecting that with practices that humanity use in order to address conflicting situations. So those are my kids around.
Good.
So
we have to bring them in also at some stage.
So modern mediation, I would say, is trying to merge what we are doing or what we learn about mediation and connecting with practices already done on the ground, right? And trying to do I don't know, a reloaded or one of those 5.0, 2.0, and all those technical stuff that cell phone makers talk about.
Yeah. So now, of course, Isaac, I think you have to tell us, what are you going to be taking as next steps? One is you've heard everything. Now, based on this, what are the next steps you're going to be taking? If something new has come up in your mind.
Okay, yes. So one thing I want to share some views on what they were saying about the modern mediation and the past mediation, or the mediation that was done before now. But one thing I have to say is that when it comes to the mediation that has been happening in our communities and the mediation that is happening in the city, it's time for us to categorize them, whether when it is family relations or community-based mediation. Then we cannot do away with the cultural differences, what has happened in the past. We have to blend those things in order to get a solution that will benefit the whole society. But when it comes to business dispute resolution and it comes to commercial mediation and those stuff, then we can consider the modern aspect of mediation that we have all learned and know, so that we can use that when it comes to the commercial side. But when it comes to family relations and family community cohesion and all that, we cannot do away with what has happened in the past. So moving on with the question of what am I going to do next? A lot of things have come in mind as to what can I do to help to promote mediation practice in Ghana. For instance, when you come here, community mediation centers are rare to find. It's difficult to even locate a community mediation center. So that has been one major challenge that I want to put myself into, so that at least, if nothing at all, we can get mediation centers in some of the communities in the country. So as we discussed, as I've discussed with Vikram some time ago, that he wanted me to look for somebody within the communities, identify them, then we also develop their skills so that they can practice. So it will come hand in hand with the community mediation centers, identifying the people who are locally based. When people have issues, they go to for resolution and all that. So building their capacity and opening a center within those jurisdictions for them to operate will be a good call for them to also know that, yes, indeed, what they are doing is a profession that they can nurture and others can also learn from them. So that is one thing that I want to also take it forward. And also when it comes to education, we are involved in training people who want to train as mediators, arbitrators, and all that. This symposium have given me more insight on international trend when it comes to mediation. So in teaching, it gives me more insight to tell them about what is happening across board, and also for them to learn more about mediation, that mediation is borderless. It doesn't have a border, like a court judgment, which will just end in maybe when you the closest town in Ghana is the Togo. When you cross Togo, judgment cannot be enforced there. But mediation enforcement with the current Singapore Convention, which we are hoping that all the countries or sign and rectify in their various jurisdictions. It is possible when you do mediation, you can enforce it in every country or every jurisdiction which has signed under. So these are some of the perspective that has the symposium has opened my mind to, and I'm going to develop that. And also, I'm thinking about a book called Collaborative Processes in Resolving a Dispute. That is the name I find for it. So I think I will need all of you, your input in coming
You are
out.
very smart. What about the inputs that you are going to give to the compilation? Where is your paper on that? I haven't received your paper yet.
My paper is on the way. I'm almost done. I was hoping you give a deadline so that will force me to complete it fast for you.
I don't like to do that. Only in my Zoom meetings, I control everything, but otherwise I let people do it. But interesting thing that's come out from what you're saying, Isaac, is that upskilling people that I was talking about, because I'm going to start a lecture series, and those lectures are going to be available for free on my YouTube channel. Now the issue is the conflict, because you are training people, you are making money out of it. So now, if this information is available to them for free, would you promote it? Would you tell them about it?
Sure. One thing is training people and gaining money from it. Yes, that's one. It's always going to be there. But what about those that cannot afford the training?
Yeah.
So they are also there. They must be trained. And also watching the video alone, the video is good, yes, but some of them will need an interpretation and breaking the video down for their understanding and all that.
Very
so
good.
Some of them can also speak the English language, so you need to translate into their local language for them to understand so that they can use it within their locality. So it's not a matter of the video taking the job out of them. It will even enhance the job that we're doing here.
Great. That's exactly what I needed, because look, this is getting the best of the world out there, their lectures, whatever they generally also train people. We have that available. Like you said, that will then further need discussions at your end on that, whatever the learning. If there is a language issue, then are you going to be able to translate that as a separate lecture for yourself, or you are going to play that and do it? So I think those things can happen. So there's no conflict. There's no conflict of interest, Isaac. Okay,
No.
good. I was thinking maybe you will not tell people about these lectures. But okay, I will also talk about it at 7:45, but let me here also tell everyone that Isaac is such a nice person. I was commenting on his traditional dress. For some reason, he's not wearing it today. And I was commenting about it. He's actually dispatched one for me. And I'm asking everyone, and that's my request going to be at 7:45. Each one has to send me that traditional dress, and that is what I'm going to start wearing whenever I'm on Zoom. Because look, I put out an appeal, they send me gifts. I don't get gifts. Look, Lisa and we are here, they're so nice, they've sent me gifts, but it's like a traditional dress coming in. Okay, there might be problems in storing it. I'm still hoping that everyone is going to send it, and we have 93 people. So my clothes for this lifetime are done then. But that's going to be the appeal. So thank you very much, Isaac. I'm hoping that it'll come. I actually wanted it to come today. I could have wanted it today, but I'm waiting for that. So that's one. So Abe, you were saying something.
I just want quickly about Isaac. Do you know about the West African Center for Peace?
Yes, one. Yes, I know one.
Okay. Do you know Wisdom Ado?
No, I don't have a direct relationship with him.
You're making connections here right now. This is a serious discussion.
No, it is a serious discussion because I've been in touch with Wisdom, and we've been talking about this Center for Peace, and that's something that we were talking about, what it is about. And that's why I thought it was just interesting to know what Isaac knows.
You can tell us about that. You can tell us about the larger activities that you are doing in terms of your, I don't know, peace monuments or peace museums and all that. Is there something happening on that now?
No, nothing at this point, because in Australia we are in lockdown and the COVID stopped every activity. All government and NGOs are directed at COVID response.
Okay.
So we have the peace and peace issues have stopped basically.
Okay. So
and everything else, but we have two councils who are what I'm talking about for people who haven't heard me before is about making peace visible. We talk about peace, but we don't see it in our public squares or streets, anywhere. We can see Peace Park, but there's nothing there. So what are we looking at? To put monument where people can reflect and talk, and not just to see it as a brick and mortar. Is just to go and reflect, what does peace mean to me or means to someone else, and walk away and think about what peace and what peace they can do, rather than just something abstract somewhere there.
But Abe, now that okay, we have 40 plus countries also. Out of all these people, have you got in touch with them in their countries to do something there? Are you looking at that? Are you?
I
Because
have been. That's why I've been talking to Ghana, because I was a member of the Sydney Peace Foundation, and we usually have a peace prize given to a peace activist internationally. And Black Lives Matters were one of those we did 2 or 3 years ago in America, as well as Chomsky and a few others. However, I'm trying to get an African Peace Prize, and that's why my interest with Ghana with the West African Peace Center, to actually start a Peace Prize there. And this is what I'm talking or discussion with Wisdom.
okay, perfect. So okay, so we'll discuss that right now. But if Lisa has to go somewhere and she's coming back. Okay, we understand from your
No,
sign language. Okay,
I
yeah,
just
please.
wanted to share with Abe that Dayton has an International Peace Museum, just like what you said. We started it after the Dayton Peace Accords. It was started because of that, because Dayton wants to be known as a city of peace. We also have an International Cities of Peace, so you should join with them, because they have gone all over the world and have different international cities of peace. And the other third thing that we do, which I love, being a part of, is we give a literary peace prize. So we look at nonfiction and fiction books, and every year we give a prize to those books that promote peace, those literary books that promote peace. So those three, and I would love to if you need any connections, let me know. I would be happy to pass on some connections for you.
Okay, I always keep saying this is my living room and have discussions like that. But these living room discussions we'll have later. Right now we focused on the symposium part of it. So I'm just now basically this is maybe we want to finish it in at 7:30 itself. So a basic question is, based on whatever you've gone through, of course, heard so many people and everything, what is, like I asked Isaac, Giovanni, is there any further steps that you're going to be taking? Something has changed in the way you want to do things? If it's some plan that you have, some strategy that you have, something that you want to share with us?
Myself?
Yes, Giovanni?
It's very difficult, because what should we ask? What should we change? First of all, learning. First of all, understanding. First of all, listening. Therefore, we can do something altogether. Secondly, we can change something. For example, when I heard Isaac's speech, well, I found something of my very youth, or old Italy, 50 or 60 years ago. And now it's changing in Ghana as well as in Italy. I always say, and I always repeat, if I start to be boring, understanding, listening, studying, that's all. Therefore, we could try to change in the better. For example, I always remind which kind of proceedings could or should we manage in our international relationships. I think trying to understand, that's all.
And in terms of any collaborations that you're looking at with so many people that you have maybe
Absolutely,
interacted, okay,
absolutely,
anything,
absolutely.
anything
Collaboration, but is I'm not saying anything special. Just a matter of experience of each of us. Collaboration, exchange of ideas, reading, listening, our songs, for example, how different they are, and to understand why and how we could blend them. So, Vikram, still very much, you've done a huge effort. I think that's something that will remain in the history of contemporary mediation, believe me.
so nice of that. But one thing that has come up, I mean, of course, if I forget to talk about a 745, the point is I'm trying to put together these action groups. So in different, so one is on traditional mediation. Let's get people together who want to work on that. Let's start that process. So say, let's take something from this symposium and take it forward. So different, you can also suggest different ones. I'm saying one is on the aspect of traditional mediation. The other is on the effects of colonization on dispute resolution, because the larger thing is the effects of colonization on society in general. But it's a much larger area which we don't want to maybe get into the entire thing. Yes, Giovanni.
Is colonization heritage still so important in your countries now, half a century after the end of the colonization?
I'm telling you, Giovanni, this is what you don't, I'm sure you come to all the most of the sessions. I will repeat again. We have the same penal code that the British gave us. We have the same civil procedure code that the British gave us. Colonization is in our heart. Our court system, their judges are referred to as your lordship, my lord. They're sitting on a pedestal. Colonization is not something that finishes off the day you get independence. People continue it. So I'm saying that that effect is still today all around us and in most countries. So we have to also see, like I said, the larger effects of colonization, the psyche, that the way that has been affected, how you're going to repair that or change it, or that's a whole different work. But in terms of dispute resolution, the effects of it, because I found it very interesting when Tatlin was talking about, because they've gone through the same thing. Their penal code today is the same thing that India has. That's the same penal code that the British gave us. They've stuck to it. So, but in the civil procedure code part of it, he's saying there's some major reform that is being discussed. So for colonies, maybe to be, for one, because it's a smaller place, maybe easier for them to implement. Let them come out with something. Let us see, because there has to be a drastic change. I mean, the way, look, it helps people. I keep saying that, of course, okay, repetition is going to be part of what I do. So please accept it. The fact is that this was a colony that was run by 5,000 bureaucrats or the British officers running controlling 300 million people. It was all based on these laws and procedures that they put into place. Now the new government comes in. Who wants to leave control? Who wants to not have that power? So they continued that. So today those procedures and everything is used by them. We don't call them colonial masters, yes, but they have used those procedures. If you look at the police acts which are lying from the British era in India, I can talk about India. I mean, people would know about your countries. I mean, you would not, maybe Italy, you were still a colonizer, but in general, you will find those laws there. So you will actually see that these are laws which were made to subjugate people. The next governments that came out after independence saw some benefit in it for themselves, so they continued that. So that drastic change that has to happen, and all of us have to be maybe part of it, or in discussions at least, because we are not activists, we want to be mediators. But those conversations and those dialogues also, we have to be involved as to how those changes have to happen, because there are vested interests for sure for them to leave. No one wants to leave power and control. So those are issues. Yes, Giovanni, colonization is right here. And I don't know now, Kathy was speaking about it in the morning herself, about present colonization, which is happening. She's even giving the example of China, that what China is doing today in various parts of the world is colonization in terms of the infrastructure projects that they do when they've brought in everyone from China into those places just to extract whatever they can for their economy. So that colonization is happening today. So we can't say that it's gone away and how people react to that. But let me get Louis into this. Let him also tell us what his next, if there is anything that is changed in terms of how you look at things after listening to so many people. Is there something that you are looking at? Yes, Louis?
Particularly not. It was an
Louis, Giovanni, Louis is just, I will come to you after that. Yeah.
I think you guys make me reflect on the different stuff we're doing here, and can I do this process, this huge Woodstock conference, made me gain perspective on the work I've been doing, and I think it's replicable, as you mentioned, and I start having some conversations with colleagues in Ecuador to do some work in Ecuador. So yeah,
Louis, I don't want to take credit for it, but there was a conference that Christian had called me in Ecuador. In that conference, I specifically spoke about your presentation. I sent the YouTube link in the chat, and I don't know, I'm not saying I'm taking credit for it, but I'm pushing everything that you're doing wherever I'm going. I keep repeating it. And there were lots of people. Christian had actually about 400 people in that webinar. And then further, look, so I think what we need to do, Louis, is that the same thing that you did, of course, you have to do it. I mean, I'm always available to coordinate things, but you need to put it in Spanish. That presentation, you have to put your presentation in Spanish, which if you already have one, please circulate it. I'll put it on my channel also.
I will. Yeah, I will send it. Yeah, I had one in Spanish, but I didn't make the effort to present it in English. So this is awesome. Perfect. This is amazing.
So I think this is what we need to do.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, Gunasiran, in terms of all that you have gone through and seen, and are there some things steps that you're going to be taking that you think when work towards what the final goal is? Definitely peace in the world. That is the final goal. So what do you think?
My goal is very short. My objective is to take this to the communities and make the communities realize that they can do it, that they can solve their own problems by themselves. But that is simply said so, but it is a very arduous job. I know, because I have come across so many factors, so many obstacles that stand in the way, and to get over it. Bureaucracy, as rightly said, Commonwealth. Colonialism is nothing but it's reflected in the Commonwealth of countries. Common law jurisprudence, you talk about British colonialism. Colonialism is there. You just can't shed it just like that. But however, the fundamental idea of making the people aware, the end users aware of a method by which they can resolve their disputes without resorting to the established dispute resolution mechanisms. I think that is my primary goal, and I am working towards it. And this symposium has helped me a lot, in the sense I have gained a better perspective from the various world communities. I think I should really thank you for that, because I have come across cultures of so many different countries, how they had been doing things.
But you have to understand, Gunnar, now let me tell you that this symposium, if you're talking about it, is because of all the speakers. I am just someone who's put it all together. So I have to thank everyone for coming in. That is what I have to do. What is a symposium without the artist? What is Woodstock if no one comes in? So
I have personally gained, I'll tell you, one small illustration I can give you, how I gained from this symposium itself. When Rosalia was talking about, her experience in United Nations Treaties Division, where she was interning. And when I was about to give a talk on, the mediation and global peace, the inputs which she gave and input Lisa gave was so much useful to me. It made me go into a different area and study a different subject altogether.
That's what I'm
And
trying to do. I'm trying to. That's what you came in for that meeting. Both of them were there. We had that discussion.
it was
So
so
that's
very
what I'm trying
useful.
to do. We just let people just come in. So I mean, I of course I have now stopped that regular thing that every Friday I will do that because of the fact that one, no, not we don't have too many people come in most of the time. Elisa and I having conversations, so that definitely happened. But one thing, let me ask Louis. Louis, on the colonization aspect of it, how do you? Of course, look, maybe some things you can't say because obviously you have that connection with the government. So okay, maybe let's forget it. We'll talk about it off the record. So Lisa, please, what are your from the learnings? What is in terms of any strategies, steps that you feel?
No, I mean, what I am taking away is just a wealth of knowledge of listening to different perspectives and really a generation of new ideas about going forward. What would I think about, in terms of building a mediation practice and in terms of looking at what is available in the world. But even more than that is just the richness of the connections and the richness of what was shared. It's an incredible gift, I think. I'm always open to listening to something new and to listening to a different perspective, because I can't be in everybody's shoes. But for a moment, we can be there and we can see it from a different perspective, and that helps us grow. Like you said, it's that elephant, right? But we are looking at that and we get different parts of the elephant. To see the whole is complex and difficult, but at the same time, we see the richness as well as we see what connects each one of us in our practice and what really gives us the incentive to do what we're doing. I guess I get a new enthusiasm for what I do when I know that there are others that are in the struggle as well.
Anything specific that you are planning to do based on this? Anything that you think that as steps that you would want to take forward my dispute resolution revolution? Anything?
Steps that I really do want to think about where I can make a difference and provide some format for others to share perspectives. And because I love having the conversation, so I've been looking at ways that I could do that. Problem is that my life is not regular. I wish if my life were regular, I could say at this time I would do something such and such. But my life keeps changing.
We can't do therapy. We are not going to do therapy. No, we are not going to get into therapy session. We are not going to do that. We are not going to go into why your life is what it is. I know you're going to.
I'm not about why. I'm just saying that when I start to think about what I want to do, that regularity gets in the way. So I'm going to have to find a way to do it with and fit it into how I live my life.
No, because I tell you, why I'm putting this across very clearly is because look, I am doing something and I want this to go out only if it's. I'm saying duplicated. You are going to do better. You're going to do things much better. I'm just saying that these are things that can be easily put into place. If I can single-handedly put together a symposium, all of you can do it. So I'm saying that if these things don't go on further and you people don't take it further, then it's going to be this closed group and we'll be the only ones having the discussions that we have, which is nice, which is going to happen, definitely. But I'm saying that from our side, we need to take it forward. So I want you to tell me if there are some specifics that you have looked at and think that how you are going to take it, because each of you has to have a YouTube channel. Each of you need to have those conversations with people. Exactly what I do. I mean, again, I'm saying exactly what I do. Don't do it. You'll do it better. But I have to say this. So have those conversations, have a symposium. Look, I am.
How can we do better than you, Vikram?
No, okay, I wanted to hear that, but I had to push that on, get that out in some way. But I'm just saying that please take it forward. please do things whatever way you have to do it. It's very simple. We have all the tools available to us. If we are giving Google our data, we are getting some benefits from it also. If YouTube is taking from us, it's also giving us. So let's look at the positives of it, and please create that network. Go out, however it has to happen. I don't know, Abe, anything that's you want to tell us about the steps next?
Okay, I think I have two projects coming soon. One I think maybe Gonzalo knows about. I'm writing a paper about the culture of peace with the theoretical philosophy. And that's coming on the 20th of November. And the colleague of mine, Chandrika, she's from India, Chennai. And she asked me if we could write a book about culture and mediation. And what I'm taking from the whole symposium is very rich experience and knowledge that will go into the book. So that's what I'm doing.
But do I get credit on that, or do all the speakers get credit on that?
I'm not asking to put the forward for it.
That'll be too much, but please give credit to all the speakers, whatever you take
Absolutely.
from them. All of them have contributed in every whatever way. If this compile, okay, what about the compilation? Are you people setting papers or not? Is something coming out? Everyone, please send it. Louis, your work has to be documented. Please, whatever, we'll take time. We don't have to rush it. But whatever you're doing, just put it out in a presentation one. And I'm saying that let's not do it in a similar kind of format. Everyone keeps their format. Your pictures are important. Let that come. Some people like Giovanni has a serious paper that he has taken out on the history. Everyone their formats. But please give that out. It'll be very, very important resource. I think like Abe has understood it's an important resource. He's also creating something. So this is how things will go out. If other people create and they'll go out. So please do that. Right. So what I'll do is at this stage, if there's any concluding thing anyone wants to say, please. So
yeah, Vikram,
Louis
I will be using.
Yeah.
I'll be using these slides which many people have shared. Different aspects.
Yeah, just give them the credit for it and ask them
Yes.
once. You can just send them a message that I'm using this. Is it all right?
I'm using it in the lectures which I'll be giving in colleges.
So just give them credit. Main thing is give them credit on this. Yeah, Louis, you were saying something?
Yeah, I have a very nice request for you. So what if you can make a short video of how can you make the largest symposium ever? And you explain the behind the scenes of what you have done by yourself. And maybe that can inspire other people.
Louis, we have the same idea.
Yes, support
let me tell you one thing very clearly. Those 2 a.m. social media posts, that 2:30 a.m. coordinating with people in Mexico and Brazil because they got the time wrong and adjusting their session and getting in touch with someone else that, okay, can you just move your session half an hour here? Because I had to make sure that everything has to happen in those, I mean, not waste anyone's time. So it had to be clockwork precision kind of thing. So everything had to be looked at, but let me not keep talking about how I did it because there is so much behind it, but all of you can do it. That's exactly what I'm saying. So Bigle has not been,
I'll tell you what, if you have not only managing the symposium and organizing it, is about actually managing the international timelines.
Yes, exactly. That's what people don't realize, that I have to I had to take an afternoon nap because I had to again that morning, that evening for me, my evening was your morning in Louis's morning. Yours obviously it was my morning was your evening. So all that had to be worked out. So Bigle, you came in a little late. What we started off with is that what is your overall, what have you taken away from the symposium, and then any specifics that you want to talk about, please.
And I think the main thing is how many people are interested in that. And I think it's easy to feel alone, especially if there are not too many enthusiasts in your circle, enthusiasts of mediation. But I think such events they really show how many people are interested in that, and that they are willing to talk, that they're willing to share their ideas, and they want to be a part of a community. And I think for me, that's kind of the main outcome of it. And again, I'm sure you've heard a lot of thanks for organizing it, but I really wanted to say that you've done an amazing job. And I think that's a full-time job to do this. And I've organized events myself. I know how much time it takes. So an amazing job, Vikram, really.
But only thing, Migle, what you said was such events. There is no other such event. Okay, there are no such events.
That is very much correct.
So please, in 1 second, you have discounted it by even saying that there are such events. So let me feel good. For some time, let me feel good that there are no such events. That there be only one Woodstock of mediation. Let that be. So anything specific that you have taken away that you want to share as to your, because I'm telling you, everyone has not seen all the sessions. If you've seen anything and anything specific has come out, because we were discussing that for some time. So anything specific that you want to tell us about, anything that you've really felt was an important takeaway?
I don't know. I wouldn't find something in particular. I think that's more of, again, everything in combination, all the different views. So I think it's more of a, a part of a discussion and not something in particular. Okay. What I found most interesting is how everybody sees things differently, and it's still the same thing. So I think that's, for me, the main takeaway.
Okay. And the other question was that, based on whatever you've seen or interacted with people and everything, is there any specific steps that you have thought that you would take in taking forward? I call it my dispute resolution revolution, but let's not call it that. But anything that you would take further as steps, anything that you want to tell us about that?
I think with regard to mediation, I keep on hearing this a lot, and I've heard it from you. And just yesterday we had a JAMS meeting.
Mr. Panchu, I'll just give you a call in 2 minutes.
I'm sorry?
No, this was Mr. Panchu. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
No, but I think we've heard this from you, and yesterday we're in JAMS fellows meeting. And I feel that after all these, for me saying after all these years, so I got acquainted in mediation in 2014. So it's been quite a while still. I know that there are a lot of people who've been here longer. But I think my main takeaway to mediation now is I want to make sure that people really need it. And I want to make sure that the way we present it is actually, we don't have to, similar as you mentioned, we don't have to put an effort on an emphasis that, it's a cheaper, it's just an alternative, or it's just, I think we should present it as an option. And in order for it to be an option, we have to make it that way. So I think we're just going forward, I wouldn't want it to be a kind of a younger brother. I wanted to have a stance, and it's like we have to work in order for it to become that. So I think this is what I would want for myself, as well as others kind of going into the future, for it to have a stance.
No, very important. Exactly. That's why it's important for you to bring it forth, because these are things which are important for people also to look at it. That's a thought process that if it's come from here, it's damn good. So damn good. So what I'll do is, Sultan is not, video is not on, but Sultan is there. Sultan, anything that you want to finally tell us based on whatever we discussed?
I had an idea. Well, you already got the idea, just to make a book or print or publish in the text of the speech. And this will be particularly useful and easy to realize.
Okay.
I also had the idea to make a video, but just images, and it's impossible just to write a single part of speeches. And there are too many. But just single images, blend it all together with the names if possible.
Okay, and so you don't basically, Giovanni, I just thought from tomorrow onwards, I will get my night's sleep. You want to finish that off also in one? Give me some rest, please. No, definitely.
Of course, don't forget Mikl images, of course.
Yes, definitely. No, but I think the thing is, I don't edit my videos. I never edit anything that I put out. But I'm sure there are things from each video that is important and a key takeaway. So you people help me on that. And you can look all these videos you can download from YouTube. There's no such anything. I please download from there, and don't. I'm saying edit from there. If you send me a clip, I'll put that clip out. So do some work. If 93 speakers have already there, 93 people put some, give me some help in a way. Let's put it out. I'm all for it. We should put out whatever someone's key takeaway is. Just take it out and give it to me, send it to me, or you circulate it. I mean, I'm okay with that. Just I want this information to be out there. All these good things that people are doing all over the world, it should reach out to people. So let's find ways to do that. I mean, we'll discuss more ways to do it, but right now we have all these people who've put out these words of wisdom. Take from there. Look, the average retention time on YouTube is about 8 minutes. So if 8-minute videos you put out, people will watch it. My videos, the thing is, people watch over time. So they're watching it, but they're watching it over time. So I think if you can work on it, I'll be very happy, because each of you has given us so much good material. I think it's really nice. So what I'm going to do is, at this point, let me cut this particular live stream. I'll start another one after at 7:45, so that we can take a little break. And
we didn't answer Louis' question.
Yeah, Isaac.
On Louis' question on, we need a video from you telling us what went into the planning and organizing the whole event. We need a video from you.
Yeah, you should have told me earlier. Then I would have put a video camera on myself, and then you would have got to know what went through it. I didn't know you would have asked me this question. I would have documented every minute of what I did on that. You can't imagine that. I don't even want to tell you this, because I want you to do it. Otherwise, you'll say, no, I can't do it before you even start. Put it out. You will see everything will fall into place. Only thing is, how many late nights you will have to do, I will not even tell. My golf has suffered. My last 2 months, I have about maybe 4 or 5 times I've been able to go. My whole game is, I went recently, my whole game it's like, start from scratch kind of thing. So these are things which sacrifices, I would say, sacrifices that you have to make. So it's been nice. It's been enjoyable. Every minute has been enjoyable, sitting in each session, such wonderful people all over the world. It's just been, I haven't even thought of it as work. It never felt like work. It just happened. I mean, it's been really a wonderful experience. So what I do, let me just cut this live stream right now. And